These Are the Times We Live In is a poem by the British-Pakistani poet Imtiaz Dharker. It was published as the first of 3 poem sequences in the 2006 collection The Terrorist at My Table. It is a free verse poem with no regular rhyme scheme and 39 verses divided into 7 stanzas. The speaker of the poem is from a Muslim-majority country and directly addresses the reader as you from a second-person perspective by inviting them to experience the speaker's humiliation by a discriminatory border control agent. The poem is set at an unspecified border control at the airport. The poem critiques the rise of Islamophobia, xenophobia, discrimination and racism in the Western world after the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States. Don't forget to subscribe. The speaker goes through airport security, where a border agent checks her passport and immediately looks at her with suspicion. The agent doesn't know anything about the speaker personally. His distrust is based entirely on the fact that the speaker looks Muslim to him. This kind of racism and Islamophobia is both unfair and ridiculous. Sadly, the speaker isn't shocked. She has experienced this kind of discrimination so many times that she doesn't even feel offended at first. But just because she's used to it doesn't mean it isn't demeaning. She imagines the agent grasping for reasons to be suspicious, maybe because her name has a Z in it, which isn't typical for English names, or because she has recently moved. These details are completely normal, yet the agent twists them into signs of something sinister, showing how prejudice makes people focus on the wrong things. The absurdity reaches its peak when the agent stares at her passport photo as if her whole appearance could have changed mid-flight. The speaker can't help but laugh at the ridiculousness of it all, but the experience is still painful. Under the agent's cold, judgmental gaze, the speaker feels herself shrinking, reduced to nothing more than her passport. The poem highlights how prejudice strips people of their individuality, warping reality in absurd and harmful ways. When the speaker hands her passport to a border agent, she isn't even surprised when he flips through it suspiciously. As someone from a Muslim country in a post-9/11 world, she has dealt with racism and Islamophobia too many times to count. But just because she expects it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Being treated with distrust over and over again takes a deep emotional toll, making a person feel unsafe, invisible, and excluded. The agent's gaze makes the speaker feel incredibly small, as if she's been reduced to nothing more than her passport, her entire identity flattened into a nationality stamped on a page. The humiliation deepens when the agent stares intensely at her passport photo, as if she could have somehow changed their entire face during the flight. The speaker laughs at the absurdity of it all, but beneath that laughter is real pain. The agent looks at her with such prejudice that he completely misses her humanity. The speaker describes this feeling with a striking image. As if half her face has peeled away and landed on the front page of a newspaper, suggesting that, to the agent, she looks like someone you'd see in a news story about terrorism. This comparison shows how damaging and dehumanizing racial profiling can be. The speaker knows this is just the times we live in, but that only makes the affliction heavier. Having to constantly prove your innocence, to be seen as a threat just because of your background, is exhausting and deeply alienating. The border agent's scrutiny quickly turns into distrust, and that distrust turns into something even worse, treating the speaker like an object instead of a person. From the start, the speaker feels uncomfortable as the agent reads backwards, a phrase that suggests both an invasion of privacy and a failure to actually understand them. To him, she's not an individual, just a passport, a book that seems to sum up their entire existence. Once he stops seeing her as a person and starts seeing her as just a document, the process of dehumanization is already underway. The poem shows how easy it is for prejudice to reduce someone to a stereotype, stripping away their dignity in the process. At the immigration counter, the officer notices a few details that make him suspicious. The speaker's name, Imtiaz, contains a Z, which isn't common in Britain or other Western countries. She also recently moved, meaning her address has changed, which the officer sees as a red flag. On top of that, there are small differences between her passport photo and how she looks in person. Maybe she's aged a little, or her features have changed slightly. The officer points out, "You don't match your photograph," which even surprises the speaker. This highlights how a photo can only capture one moment in time, and appearances naturally change over time. But instead of seeing these as normal, harmless differences, the officer immediately suspects something is wrong, simply because the speaker is a dark-skinned woman. The poem shows how the immigration system itself is shaped by prejudice and xenophobia. The officer isn't necessarily racist on purpose, but his training has conditioned him to be suspicious of people who look a certain way. Phrases like "keep an eye on" and "you can see his mind working" reflect this automatic distrust. Even the line about the speaker's birthmark shifting subtly suggests paranoia, as the word "shifty" can mean untrustworthy. The poem reveals how systems of power encourage people to judge others unfairly, based not on facts but on appearance and bias. As the speaker hands over her passport, she feels powerless. The immigration officer represents an entire system, while she is just one individual. In that moment, her passport isn't just an ID, it's a symbol of how her identity is now in someone else's hands. She realizes she has no control over how she is perceived. She can't even show frustration because reacting the wrong way might make things worse. The line, "You could be offended and what did you expect?" captures her resigned frustration. She's so used to this treatment that it's almost routine. The only action she takes is a small, exasperated laugh, which expresses both disbelief and humiliation. Meanwhile, the officer is the one with all the power. He takes action, makes decisions, and controls the situation. He examines, questions, and judges, while the speaker is simply watched and assessed. The poem also shows how damaging it is to be constantly questioned and distrusted. The speaker feels like she's being erased, her real self is being replaced by the officer's assumptions. She has no say in who she is, the system decides for her. In the end, she is left feeling small, helpless, and like an outsider in a place where she should belong. Hope you share and subscribe for more poem analysis videos.